Today, I want to talk a bit about why professional league teams are seemingly so adamant against picking different champions and being creative in draft. For the longest time now, the pro meta has been extremely stagnant and frankly become boring to watch. Pro teams are convinced there is a pool of just 30 to 40 champions that are quote-unquote strong and viable for the competitive meta, when in reality, League of Legends has over 160 characters to choose from, the vast majority of whom are situationally viable picks. Instead of adapting different draft techniques and situational answers with certain champions, pro teams stick to this limited pool of champs for one reason or another. For example, in summer 2022, it was the Zeri, Lulu, Sivir, Yuumi meta, where these bot lane champions were traded in draft every game, and both teams would be content with their side. When people started complaining about the meta being stale, the question isn't Riot balance or anything like that. I think it comes down to one very simple explanation. Professional players are really that unwilling to learn new or off-meta champions. Looking back at that Zeri Sivir meta, why didn't anyone actively find a counter to each of those champions? The best quote-unquote counter we saw into Zeri was targeted CC with Nautilus and Vi, which is silly in my opinion. There are actual bot lane counters that exist into this champion that nobody played. Champs like Twitch and Kog'Maw are great because they match her scaling but heavily outrange her. We saw the occasional Draven counter, but that was few and far between. Actual situational counter picks to champions are rarely ever used, and I believe it comes down to pros being unwilling to try new things and practice new champions. They want to feel nice and cozy inside their bubble of comfort instead of learning new things and improving at the game at the same time. Another example is K'Sante this year. Everyone's been saying how broken this champ has been pretty much since his release, but we've seen almost no counter picks used into him. Rich played Illaoi a few times, and I remember seeing a Garen pick or two, but outside that, there hasn't been a single counter pick used into the K'Sante. Illaoi, Garen, and Darius are all perfectly viable picks into this champion, but everyone just handshakes Renekton with it. This dynamic has never made sense to me. Why pro teams are so stuck in what's best or what's meta at the time. There are so many champions that are viable that nobody plays. Karthus, Evelynn, and Fiddlesticks have been three of the best junglers in the game for years, and nobody ever plays them. Udyr 2 is super broken, but let's just take Sejuani for no reason. This lack of effort from pro players is why the pro meta has been stale for so long. And if you think it's because they need time to learn new champions and can't be proficient enough in a short amount of time, look at Rell this season. Riot made her jungle changes, and within one patch, every pro jungler pretty much in the world had her picked up. So that argument really holds no salt. Pro players can master any champion they want to, but they don't because it's not meta or not picked often, so it must be terrible, right? This is why I've adopted a very unique drafting style where I'm open to picking pretty crazy stuff. I've picked Ivern Rengar, Soraka mid, Ivern mid, Karthus top, Karma top, Seraphine Senna bot lane, Seraphine Sona bot lane. There are so many champions in the game and infinite unique drafting situations. Like I've said in the past, the entire point I'm doing draft focused videos is to get it out there that drafting is a dynamic aspect of the game, and there are plenty more options to go with than counterpicking Rell with Alistar. I know this seemed kind of ranty, and I apologize for that, but I'm really quite fed up with pro teams being blind to the potential in the draft phase. After all, most of the game, and at least the execution of the game, is determined in draft. Maybe it will improve at Worlds, but until the pro meta becomes more diverse, always remember, pro teams suck at drafting. Thanks for watching, see you next time.